Welcome to the 15 April 2021 episode of Chapter Dev Setup, subtopic pull request number 540. Please note that this demonstration is being performed on Linux Fedora x86 64-bit machine, and there are several versions that we need to take note of. We'll be using NVM, Node Version Manager, Node, NPM, Docker, and Docker Compose. Switching over to the FreeCodeCamp Chapter, we can take a look at the pull request number 540, and you can see the link to this repository in the lower left hand corner of your screen. Scrolling down, we'll take a look at this pull request right here, this last number 9209644. Further, we'll scroll down a little bit and we can see that we've shown our checks, and notice that Gitpod is enabled on this repository, and in the lower left hand corner you can see the link to Gitpod. We'll keep that in mind in a second. And we're also going to take a look at the insights at the chart. Switching over to the network graph, we can see that Oliver's network here shows this branch, and if I scroll over just a little bit more, you can see that we're at 9209644. And switching screens, we've opened this up in the Gitpod workspace, and you can see the last commit. It shows the changes in each one of these files, and it also has a running page which can be opened up in a new screen. And you can see that it's running here. And that's pretty cool. I don't know exactly what it's supposed to do. There are some things to take a look at in the console. There are some warnings. Start at the top. So here's a warning. But it does compile. The project does compile, and it renders a page. And then here's another warning. The next thing we want to do is go back to our terminal and do start a server separate from Gitpod. Here you can see I've switched over to my terminal and the server. This server is out on the web somewhere, and I've created a workspace and a temporary folder that I've called delete me, and then I've cloned Oliver's repository into this chapter folder, and it's checked out directly at this branch. I can also show how I got there. To speed things a little bit, I made a snapshot of that terminal. So I cloned that Git repository, and then I checked out right here. You can see I checked my branches, and there's the branch that we were looking for. And here you can see that I checked it out right there, and it's switched to it. And well, down at the bottom of the screen here you can see that it says the head is, or maybe you can't see it because it's hidden by the software is trying to be helpful. It's telling me there's something I can do, but it's hiding my picture. So down at 9209644, it says that's where the head is right now. And then if we switch over, we can see the next step. And the next step was to do an npx recursive install. And I left this here. There was an error. You can see it says required 14.16.1, and I only had 14.16.0. So part of that, I just wanted to show you that. It's not really a part of the pull request, but our written instructions, I think, don't show how to upgrade. It automatically does that in the automated files, but if you're doing it manually, you have to kind of know to upgrade. And so I did do that upgrade using NVM, and then I ran lint and with npm, and then I also ran the test. I didn't show the test. The tests passed. Going back to the terminal, we'll do docker compose up, and then after we do that, we should be able to have access to our server. Here you can see the server started at port 3000. Tells me I can access it at localhost 3000. And then it also says listening on localhost 5000. So we can switch over and take a look at those pages. Alright, so on this one we've pulled up a page. This is off from the server that we just started, and you can see here that there's an error. It says network error when attempting to fetch the resource. If we look at the developer tools and the error message in the console, it says same origin policy disallows reading the remote source localhost 5000 graphical. And I really haven't looked into this, but it is in comparison to the page that was working on Gitpod. So somehow it's working on Gitpod, but it doesn't work on this server, and I don't know why. Now if we switch pages, we can also go over to the we can go over to port 5000/graphical to the playground, and maybe that's why it fails. Maybe it's looking for a playground, and it really should just be querying port 5000. I don't know much about it. Maybe somebody knows. And there's some interesting things here that you can look at. I don't know much about this either, but hoping to learn a little bit more. Here's the documentations about the database. You can see the different fields, which is probably not the right term for graphical. And then we can also look at the schema. and it sort of tries to help if I type in chapters like that. It knows that there's something wrong. It's giving me a little hint. That's why it's in red. But maybe if I put in something like that, and it's starting to get better, and it's giving me hints. Anyway, I've done this a few times, and I know that I can't get it to work exactly because I need probably some training on how to make it work. But clearly the tool itself is working, and I'm pretty close to being done. Let me just check my notes here. Well, I am pretty close to done. We'll just turn off the server, so we'll go through that sequence, and I'll switch over to the terminal now. And what I want to do is issue a Control C, and that gracefully shuts down the server. But then you can see that we have some containers left over. Well, no containers running. Oh, there's no containers listed here, but I wonder, let's try a different thing here. Oh, we'll do Docker container like that. So you can see there's some containers left over. And if we want to get rid of those, we can do Docker container prune. It says, you sure you want to delete all your containers? And I do. I don't want any containers left over because I keep rebuilding the same containers over and over again. I just want new containers. So that concludes today's episode. Thanks very much for watching. I look forward to having you around again.